Now the truth of the matter is that there is kibr itself, there's two kinds of understandings of it. Okay, which is, one of the understanding of kibr is the lughawi understanding, which is isti'la, or thinking that you're better than other people, etc., etc. But then if you really think about the matter properly, yeah? If Usain Bolt was here, okay, sorry. If Usain Bolt was here, yeah? He is the fastest man on the planet, as you know, like in 100 meters, he's the fastest, correct? Now, if he comes and says, look, I'm faster, I guarantee you, I'm faster than everyone here. Now, in fact, if he says it another way, he goes, I'm better than all of you at sprinting. Yani, would you consider this to be arrogance? No, it's not arrogant. Why is it not arrogant? Because he's speaking the truth. Usain Bolt is the best at sprinting in the world. So if he just states that fact, that's not batr al-haq wa ghamt an-nas. Batr al-haq means sidestepping the truth. Wa ghamt an-nas means to oppress the people. So if it doesn't have, for example, someone can speak in a manner which, like, that would be izzah now. If Usain Bolt is being challenged on his credentials and says, look, I'm sorry to say, but I'm the fastest sprinter in the world. That's not arrogance, because all he's doing now is affirming the truth. If a mother is being attacked in the house by her, not attacked physically, but let's say attacked by her child, and her child is saying this and that and that, say, listen, Allah has given me a right, and this and that, and you should obey me, and this and that. And the child, the daughter comes and says, oh, the son, you're being very arrogant. No, she's not. She's instating her truth, which is the truth, which is batr al-haq. She's not doing batr al-haq wa ghamt an-nas. She's speaking in a manner. Had she not had the right, it would be. So it's the same speech, maybe even the same temperament and the same attitude, but it's a different. The context will decide. So someone can speak in a manner which can seem completely arrogant, but because they have a right, it's absolutely not arrogance. It's izzah now. And we do have to do that sometimes. You'll find that in your life, you have to reinstate your credentials, your qualifications, your this, your that. Someone says you're not qualified, you're a doctor. You're going to sit down and say, I'm not qualified. Yeah, maybe you're right, I want to be humble. No, you're being a fool and you're being weakened by that discourse. You shouldn't say where you are. And the evidence for that is that Yusuf alayhi salam in the Quran, he says to the Aziz, let me have precedence over the khaza'in of the ard. Inni qawiyyun amin. So he gave us no, it's not inni qawiyyun amin. Inni hafiz, are you sure, yeah? Inni hafizun alim. Inni hafizun alim. I am hafiz, I can protect over it, and I have knowledge over the topic. You can't say, oh no, Yusuf alayhi salam, he's talking about himself, therefore he's arrogant. He is telling you what he has. He has ability. Yeah, it's very normal. Yeah, so the whole thing of what determines what arrogance is context. If some, on the other hand, when tawada'a lillah rafa'ahu Allah, the Prophet said, whoever humbles himself to God, that Allah will raise him. So then, for example, a lot of the problem today we have with this idea of arrogance is that people confuse confidence with arrogance. And I'm not saying that as an overconfident person, because obviously, like, I had this conversation many times. I'm not saying I'm not arrogant, by the way. I'm not even saying that. I wish that I'm not. I hope that I'm not, because the hadith says, لا يدخل الجنة من كان في قلبه مثقال ذرة من الكبر. Somebody who has one atom's weight of kibr in his heart will not enter heaven. So this is a serious matter, yeah? So we have to describe what, first of all, we said, ta'rif of a kibr. What is kibr? Kibr is batr al-haq wa ghamt an-nas, according to the Prophet ﷺ, which is sidestepping the truth and oppressing the people, or belittling the people, or whatever, yeah? However, if the person's belittling you now Shafi'i says, at-takabbur ma'al mutakabbir marratayn. This is a very interesting situation. He said, be arrogant with the arrogant one twice. So if someone comes to you and starts being rude to you, and even if they are Muslim, if they're showing that arrogance, that flagrant arrogance, and you start, okay, yeah, he will not respect that, by the way. With those individuals who have a temperamental proclivity to that kind of behavior where they're going to oppress you, then the Prophet told us, unsur akhaka zaliman aw mazluma. How do you aid your brother, whether he's the oppressor or the oppressed? How do you aid your brother who's the oppressed or the oppressor? You stop him from his oppression. How are you going to stop an arrogant person who actually does take the rights from people from being arrogant, unless you're willing to stand up to them, unless you're willing to put them on the back foot, unless you're willing to humiliate them? So there are some people within the Muslim world that need to be humiliated, but the ma'yar for that, the standard for that, is if they are taking the rights of people or not. It's not whether they speak in a loud way, because I believe you me, there are many people that uqsimu billah, if they saw Umar ibn Khattab and his temperament, they would confuse his extroversion Well, that's what it is. His loudness, his extroversion, his assertion with arrogance. Many people of the Ummah, if they were to see Umar ibn Khattab in action, telling people off and hitting them with a stick and shouting at the people, they would say, you're arrogant. That's not arrogant though, because he's upholding the truth. As we said, if a person is upholding the truth and he's doing it with justice, then how could it be arrogance? It's arrogant if he's doing something which is not the truth. And that's why you'll find that Umar Khattab was more harsh with himself than he was with the people. On his deathbed, he was calculating the debts he had to pay everyone else. He was bleeding. He came back, the guy stabbed him, and he went and he was saying, who do I owe money to? Can you imagine that, man? Imagine someone who's just been stabbed in the masjid, and instead of thinking about get me the doctor or whatever it is, he's saying, who do I owe money to? He is so stringent on himself, yet he was a loud and extroverted person. There are Sahaba that have, so what I'm saying is here, we have to be able to differentiate between temperamental, temperaments, temperamental extroversion or introversion, and arrogance. Unfortunately nowadays people see confident people and they demote that, they say this is arrogant. It's only arrogant if what they're speaking is falsehood, or what they're calling to is injustice, or what they're creating is injustice. You see? So the Prophet ﷺ, there were times where he had to reprimand the people. There were times where he had to be more soft with the people. لِكُلِّ مَقَامٍ مَقَالٍ. For every saying, for every station there is a saying, as the Arabs say. Like there's a situation for every situation. So to answer your question, what is the difference between izzah and arrogance? The answer is one thing: justice. If the thing has been done with justice, it cannot be arrogance. If it's been done according to Sharia, it's not arrogance, because it's not batal al-haq wa ghamt an-nas. If it's been done in opposition to Sharia, then now it's arrogance. From our perspective, that's where the difference is. If someone's affirming what they are, speaking about themselves, even that can be allowed in Sharia, so long as they do it within hudud, within the particular guidelines. That makes sense, huh? How are you doing, my friend?
Okay, thank God. So,
what's your name, first of all?
Jesse Berg.
Jesse Berg. So you're Jewish?
Yeah.
And what kind of Jew are you?
I'm Orthodox Jew.
Okay, well, Haredi, Hasidic, what?
Yeah.
Which one?
Well, Hasidic is part of Haredi.
Okay, fantastic. What did you want to ask me today, brother?
Yeah, okay. So first of all, before you were talking about another gender issue, you talk about LGBTQ, I don't know what, you talk about gender.
I didn't speak about that today, but yeah, okay. I have in the past.
But you were saying about someone who left Islam, who was born, and that's really bad. You actually said the worst people in the world are wondering, or worse than murderers and rapists. How bad is it? But I was wondering if,
well, it's as bad as it is in Deuteronomy, which also talks about an apostate in your book, right? Let's be clear. That it talks about the apostate, you can kill them in the house.
Yeah. Just as bad.
Yeah, so it's
just as bad.
So we both,
on the same page. So I'm wondering, and I asked my fellow Christians that, and I asked plenty of Jews that, and many others, is there room for a person to be a good person and find a path to God that's not yours?
No.
Not through Muhammad, peace and blessings.
It's a good question.
And why?
Look, the Quran clearly says, "Inna dina 'inda Allahi al-Islam." The only acceptable religion to Allah is Islam. Okay? Allah has created the human being. You believe that, I believe that. Allah has created the human being, and He has made that human being free-willed. In other words, this human being has a choice between good and evil. That's our belief.
Although there are some who believe in predetermination.
We believe in predetermination, but we have a compatibilistic position, which is, as you know, both godly determinism and human free will. They coalesce in a certain manner, okay? So we believe in the idea of human free will. Now what I'm saying is, human being has a decision to make. The Quran says clearly that وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. We're not going to punish anyone except if we send them a prophet or a messenger. This is chapter 17, verse number 15. So Islam has created the human being on something called the predestination, the predisposition. This predisposition is a proclivity, an inclination, a receptivity to believing in God. You are already born like that. The Quran is called dhikr, which means a remembrance, okay? So what it is that the Quranic story is this. You are born believing in God, and then the Quran has come to remind you of your beginnings. Similar to a child who has been departed from his parents, for example. In fact, Ibn Taymiyyah, one of our scholars, he gives this very example. He says the fitrah, or the innate predisposition, is like a child sucking on the breast of the mother. It's something which comes naturally, yeah? It's not something which is even rational from that. It's ultra rational. You don't even need to have an argument in place. It's something like when you put your hand on a fire, that reaction, that carnal, visceral, human reaction is the same kind of reaction, that level of instinct that you believe in God. Now, having said that now, if a human being does not believe in Islam and has never been exposed to it, we don't say that this person will perish and ever have an eternity of punishment.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, so some scholars say that in the Day of Judgment they will be given an independent test. In fact, there's a hadith to that effect, okay? They'll be given an independent test on the Day of Judgment.
Between Mountain Olives and Temple Mount?
No, it doesn't say this in the hadith, I don't think so. You know, unless you know a hadith, I don't. But no, yeah, so they'll be given an independent test on the Day of Judgment. But the point is that what is that this process of a human being listening to the Quran, being reminded of his purpose, is referred to in the Quran as nur ala nur. Nur is basically light upon light. You have the light of the fitrah, the light of the human inclination to believing in God, and then you have the light of revelation, and then they intermingle in a most delicate and precise of ways.
But you do agree that there are two different things. If you talk about inclination to God, I hear. Inclination to, I don't know, pray exactly 5 times a day, or say exactly the words La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, or whatever. Yeah. That's not something someone's born with.
I agree
right?
with that. Yeah, exactly.
He has to hear it from someone.
Absolutely. So what we distinguish between is the theoretical Islam, praying 5 times a day, even who the Prophet Muhammad was. The character of Prophet Muhammad, we don't claim that someone is born believing in this stuff. Well, our claim is only one, which is that someone is born believing in submission to God. Now, Islam can exist without the Prophet Muhammad, and it had existed. I mean, when the Prophet Muhammad didn't exist, you had Moses, you had Jesus, you had Abraham, you had Noah, you had prophets that came before. And Islam at that time was not about following the Prophet, it was about following those prophets.
But you can't be a Muslim today, since 1400, without believing Muhammad, right?
Okay,
you can't be a Christian.
No, I understand. No, I understand. But just your point was, when we say Islam, we're not saying anyone is born believing the 5 pillars of Islam. That's not our claim at all. Yeah, Islam is Istislam, which is the idea of submission.
Hey, by the way, talk about the 5 pillars, right?
Okay.
A righteous Christian, Hindu, I don't know what. Salah, he prays. Sadaqah, okay? He gives charity. He basically does it, but not in Islam way. You don't accept it, right? You won't consider that following. He has to do it in your way. That's the only path for salvation to God.
What was your name again, bro?
What? Jesse.
Jesse, let me tell you something which I think you already know. Maybe you're advocating a universal perennial position of Judaism, which, by the way, most Hasidics don't agree with. Okay. But let's just
True.
Yeah. And in fact, the 95%. But let me just include.
I'm representing myself.
Okay, no problem. But what I want to say is that every ideology, by its nature, is a refutation of another ideology. In other words, every ideology claims a truth another ideology doesn't have. So clearly, if Judaism is any different from Christianity and Christianity is any different from Islam, then there are some refutational aspects of Judaism which can be extrapolated, which would go against the nature of Christianity or Islam and vice versa. Meaning this idea that we believe in one truth, which is sent by God, is not something remarkable or exceptional about the Islamic discourse. Think about it clearly. Any ideology, in order for it to be thusly understood as a demarcated ideology, distinguishable from other ideologies, must have aspects of it which are differentiated from other ideologies.
In practice, for sure.
In theory as well.
Well, we go to masjid, I go to synagogue, or church, or temple. For sure. What exactly?
No, in theory. In theory.
Well, but see, the theory doesn't have to. Look, the Sharia, right? You have the 4 schools, right? Right? You can choose.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And they're all okay in your eyes.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So here's 4 distinguished schools, differentiate, but each one for you is a path to Allah. Okay?
Okay.
I don't know if you'll include the Shia, but
no,
inside the city. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So you do have that. I'm just stretching it further and saying there could be ways to Allah that maybe differently.
I understand what you're saying, but can I retort? What I was going to say is that all 4 schools of thought are operating on the same basic premise, which is that we want to believe in God and the Messenger and follow the Messenger. Okay. Now, just to let you know, it's a bit complicated, but I might as well just mention it. Yeah. the usulis, there are a group of scholars referred to as the usulis who delve into something called the principle of extrapolation. There are two camps of usulis. There are some of them called the musawwibah and others called the mukhatti'ah. So even in the situation where you have the four schools of thought, the musawwibah say all four of them are truths in and of themselves. The mukhatti'ah, the position I take, they actually say this. They say although all four schools of thought are legitimate from the perspective that they're trying to follow the Prophet and they are putting forward a jurisprudential method which is systematic, actually there's only one truth and one falsehood. And they base that on the Prophet's hadith where it says, إِذَا اجْتَهَدَ الْمُجْتَهِدْ, if a mujtahid does ijtihad, which means to employ an extrapolation method of jurisprudence, فَأَصَابَ فَلَهُ أَجْرًا, if he is successful, he gets 2 rewards. When أَخْطَأ فَلَهُ أَجْرًا, and if he fails, then he's only got 1. Now the point is the hadith is clear that you can make a khata, or you can err on the side of falsehood. Still, because you're operating within the paradigm of Islam, you'll be given a reward. The point is, if you're not operating within the paradigm of Islam, or the idea that the Quran and Sunnah are the major primary sources, then you'll be disqualified from that. So the extent to which taking different pathways to truth is something which is a legitimate discourse, is something very clearly and cleanly defined by Islamic scholars, to the extent to which even those things where there's a difference of opinion among the four schools of thought can be considered this is true and this is false. So in other words, if I'm a Hanbali and I say, look, you know what so if I follow the Hanbali school of thought, I follow it for convenience purpose. No, I'm not. From Egypt. But if I follow the Hanbali school of thought and I follow a particular ruling, now, I cannot say this is 100% true in the same way that I can say that Quran and Sunnah is 100% true. I cannot say, so if someone says a Maliki or a Hanafi comes to me and says, actually I believe X, well you believe in Y, I will have to, as a person who's following that madhab, unless I have done my research myself, but if I'm under the authority of those particular schools of thought, I would have to concede that his other method or his school of thought is as legitimate or even more legitimate than mine in some cases. I have to be agnostic here. I cannot be a follower of the Hanbali madhab but say no, mine's true and your one is false.
But you don't.
So that's where the difference lies. Whereas as a Muslim, I will say my religion is true and your religion is false. But so with the madhabs, your example of the madhabs, I have to maintain a degree of agnosticism to the truthfulness or lack thereof of my particular position, unless I have done the extrapolation myself. Whereas with religion itself, I don't have any agnosticism. I'm very clear what's true and what's false.
You don't have agnosticism. Why? Because it's your logical price to pay you don't want to pay. But isn't there a price to pay for not having agnosticism? I mean, I live in Palestine / Israel, okay? There's fights there all the time, non-stop. A lot is Israeli food. Not all, but...
Israeli what?
A lot is the fault of the Jews. They don't, there's occupation, that's a big problem.
Okay.
Bad. But when we come and think, that idea of not wanting to be agnostic, I know exactly what God wants. This book represents God. It's equal to God. It even existed before God. And I know it's not unique to Islam. I was talking to Christian.
It's not unique to Judaism.
What?
It's part of Judaism. It's the same.
Part of Judaism as well. It's the same problem.
So why is that a problem?
Pardon?
Why is it wrong?
Because it brings wars in the world.
Okay, so what? But that's a fallacious argument.
Is it?
Yes, because...
Does God want that? What if God is bigger than all the religion and all the books? He's much bigger than everything.
Okay.
He wants 8 billion people to get along.
What you just,
I know it sounds universal, but maybe God's bigger than that. He doesn't want that.
Let me explain something. Okay. First of all, it's a logical fallacy. Unless you believe in the truthfulness of consequentialism and a very specific type of consequentialism, yes, to say that just because of the consequences of something is false. So if I say, look, for me, the consequence of Galileo telling me that the Earth is it's the Earth that goes around the sun and not vice versa, was that he was put in prison. So it had negative consequences, but that doesn't, a scientist would maintain, it doesn't stop it from being the case that the sun goes around the Earth. The Earth goes around the sun. The point is that to cite a consequence as a reason why something is false is a fallacious type of reasoning, unless one says that consequentialism is true, and then they'll have to prove that's the case.
No,
Number one.
But tell you, I understand. I agree with what you're My point is again, why we want to figure out what God wants, what Allah wants. Why would He want that? Why would He want us to be fighting all the time to dominate our religion about the whole world?
No, but
you know what I mean? I'm saying the consequence means that maybe He's saying, maybe he doesn't want to be fixed in that kind of box. But
listen,
he creates all these different religions. I assume you were born a Sunni Muslim? Yeah, were you born a
we
Sunni
believe
Muslim?
all of them. A Sunni Muslim, yeah.
Pardon?
I was in a Sunni household, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so the reason I practice Orthodox Judaism, a big part, if I really ask myself, is because I was born in Orthodox
Fine.
Judaism. Okay, so God puts us in different places. Most of us follow where we are. Sometimes we have, sometimes we have. And that's where we stay. So if he does that, maybe that's what he wants. Maybe he wants many paths to him. He gives us a hint by doing where we're born to instead of checking out the other 4,200 religions.
So
denominations.
when the Nazis in Germany were born into a Nazi environment, were they then were they then justified for being Nazis because they weren't critical thinkers to the extent to which they say this is nonsense?
No, okay, but that's the thing that's equivalent of me acting immorally and killing innocent people.
No, but
is the equivalent.
they had their own systems of morality, which we would say is defunct, but they had their own systems of morality. But this idea that we're living now in a world which is completely globalized, and where I can see the arguments in a place like this of the other person. Yeah, so if you were born, I would agree, or maybe you would agree, sorry, if you were born in a Nazi household and someone like me or someone like you now came and debunked Nazism, yeah, from a political philosophical perspective, would it still be legitimate for that person to maintain their Nazism despite the fact that it's been debunked intellectually?
Well, it depends what you mean Nazism. If you mean catching Jews in the street and beating them up to death, then no.
No, how about anti-Semitic sentiments without violence?
Well, I don't think racism is good. And look, I can tell you for myself, I wouldn't be a Nazi.
I'm asking.
I was born an Israeli Jew.
I know
Everyone
that.
invites me
Forget you.
and I'm pro-Palestinian.
I understand.
So I know that I don't follow just.
I'm not saying that. I'm
talking about practice.
No, but
practice.
no. Please let me come back to this.
Okay.
You are saying that if someone is born in a certain way. I'm saying if someone is born in a household of anti-Semitism where they are taught that Jews were subhuman, okay, and then they are confronted with facts and evidence, as I'm sure me and you would show them, that's wrong. Are they still justified in believing whatever they're justified, or is the truth so clear now that them believing this thing is morally repugnant?
That's racism. Racism is wrong for itself, regardless of it. I'm not talking about.
No. But why have you? Sorry.
I said
sorry.
about practice.
No.
I talked about practice.
But Jesse, you said no. Listen, excuse me. You said that's racism. My point to you is that monotheism is even more clear than racism as being morally okay.
Sorry, say that again.
Okay.
Monotheism.
You see, you said that's racism, yeah? As if it should be known to all that racism is wrong, okay? I'm saying to you that someone can be socialized so deeply into a racist environment that actually they genuinely believe that racism is true, okay? I'm saying that if me and you were to argue against the racists and give them rational, scientific, sociological, anthropological, or whatever type of arguments to show them why their racism makes no sense, and they continue believing in anti-Semitism, they're still believing that Jews are subhuman or something like that, would you agree that they have no right to believe, or that they are morally unjustified in maintaining their stance?
I think they're wrong.
Great. Beautiful.
By the way, Islamophobic is the same.
No, but I'm just focusing on anti-Semitism. Okay. Fine. So let's say you say that you think they're wrong. Yes. I'm saying to you is the same exact line of reasoning is applicable to the religious discourse. I would say that if somebody who is a polytheist, an agnostic, an atheist, or a pantheist, or whatever other ist, after I have shown them, or anyone has shown them the truth through evidence and argumentation, and through scripture, after I've shown them the truth, that I would say they're wrong in the same way that you were so confident to say that the racist is wrong. I'm saying to you, in fact, I'll tell you something more deep. All of the neuroscientific information, the cognitive science evidence that we have indicates, like I've mentioned many times before, the Justin Barrett thing, 2011 study and so on, Anthropological Society. Yes, sir. It indicates that you're born believing in God. I don't think there's any evidence to show that you are born being non-racist. I don't know if there is or there isn't. What I'm saying is, if you already have an impetus, a psychological impetus to be monotheistic or to believing in a higher power. Fine. I accept. But you have an impetus to believe in a higher power. Okay. Which is why Pew Research has shown that 90% of the population in America believing in a higher power, despite the fact that some of them are not religious. 90%.
See, that's great.
Great. No, I'm saying that they are. I'm saying they have an impetus to believing in something, which is a higher power. So when I then reintroduce this idea of monotheism or higher power through a religious discourse, then there is more of a natural proclivity or incentive or an impetus, or to put it in Barrett's terms, an innate receptivity to accept such proposition. What I'm saying is racism doesn't fall the same. It has a lower epistemological and ontological bar, which means that if someone's born in a racist environment and you give them all the evidence of why racism is wrong, you let them sit with all the people of different races, and oh look, they're fighting each other. Let them fight. Who is it? Let's go. The fight is over before it begins. No, yeah. Let's go back. Sorry. That's fine.
Okay.
No, it's fine. So, do you understand what I'm saying, brother? No, do you see what I'm saying, brother? Your perennial stance or your universalist stance, yeah, I think it's not consistent. It's inconsistent.
No, I don't think it's inconsistent. Because first of all those people live in higher power. It's great. They have a higher power. They're trying to live moral life. I think that's great. For me, that's great. I don't want anything else. You do. You need them all to be Muslims to.
I don't need them to be Muslims.
Well, to get heaven, to I don't know.
No, I don't need them to be anything.
Well, but they should be.
No, look, what I'm saying to you is that if they are Muslims, that's for their own. The Quran says that someone who is a Muslim, you know, the Quran says, "In ahsantum fa ahsantum li anfusikum, wa in asatum falaha." You know, if you're good for yourself, and if you're bad, you're bad for yourself.
Okay.
It's not my yani, I don't care, to be honest with you, from that perspective.
No, but Islam does spread their thing a bit like Christianity.
Yeah, it's proselytizing for sure. But I'm saying that I don't need them. I don't need anything. Like, you know, I'm okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but they're imperfect. Their belief in higher power is insufficient.
Prophet said that every human being is imperfect. And
yes, I agree with that too.
No, but the point you are making.
Does that include the prophet?
No, but so khata is different. So the khata, a prophet can do khata, because the hadith said the khata, every human being does khata. Khata means mistakes. Okay, so a prophet can commit khata, can do a mistake. Clearly he did, because there were reprimands in the Quran. No, not satanic verse. Satanic verse, we don't believe in it. Yeah, it's inauthentic. It's not true. It's a fabrication of the hadith. Yeah. So, but what we're saying is, if everybody Adam and khata, all the human being makes mistakes. That even the prophets make mistakes, but not all prophets commit sin, like major sins and all sins, generally speaking. So that's the distinction that we would make. But going back to the point, look, your general argument falls flat on its face, because what you said is this: if you have somebody who lived in an anti-Semitic or racist environment, he believes that Jews are bad. He believes that they are subhuman, whatever he believes, yeah. And then me and you, because we are good people, let's say, in one regard. We go to him and we say, listen.
Aren't you a good person in all regards?
We don't know. I mean, I'm not really actually. So I'll go to him and say to him, listen, this is false. You shouldn't believe in that, because human beings like everyone else. There's no genetic component. Right. Whatever argument we want to say, yeah. And he says, no, I don't agree, because of whatever citation he gives. Now, I will say, after we've shown him the evidence, this guy is out of order. Would you agree with that? If he wants to maintain that these Jewish people are like subhumans, they're like animals, he's wrong. It's out of order, wrong, yeah? He's wrong. Oh, fantastic. Beautiful, yeah? I'm saying, look, therefore, me and you have accepted that if one holds a position which they are shown contradictory evidence to, yeah? And they still maintain that position, that they're wrong. So, that's my position with religion. My position is that if someone takes the atheistic position, the pantheistic position, the polytheistic position, and then they're shown evidence against their tradition, and then they continue with that, say they're wrong. And so that's a moral value judgment.
But religious evidence goes all ways. I mean, there's people around here proving the other way. And really, in my view, the problem is because the Quran was always there, so it's as perfect as God. So therefore, you're not allowed to point out mistakes. And the Bible also does.
So no, in fact, the Quran said, go ahead and fight.
It's vulnerable like God himself. And I think even the prophets sort of like that. But so they need it. And therefore, so I do take it literally. So what do you do? Okay, if the Quran says to do jihad, so I can use Inchida and say, okay, it means a theological jihad. And that's maybe good. I can be saying I don't have to fight. Is that the simple meaning of the Quran? I don't know. Now it's kafir to
I don't get.
say.
Yeah, so you're saying the
well,
obvious.
I don't.
Yeah,
Pardon?
I mean, so what? The point is, so what?
So the prices to pay. No, you said that consequence. The price to pay to God. Assuming God wants human beings, He made us 8 billion people. He loves us. He wants us to prosper. He wants us to go. He doesn't want us to kill each other or necessarily hate each other. So when I take my religion fully and accept everything, I say literally that, I pay us a price there. It's a logical price.
So
I
what?
maintain the fact that my religion is perfect and my text is perfect. There's nothing wrong.
Everything.
Understand that.
I believe.
So the price I pay
Listen. Everything in life. Everything, I believe, almost any decision you make in life has a trade-off.
Yes.
Whether it's a psychological trade-off, a physiological one, or an economic one, or otherwise. If you decide that you want to do anything, there's going to be consequences, positive, negative, whatever you like. It doesn't mean just because there are consequences, there's a price to pay, as you keep saying, that one should be stopped from doing things.
Look, I told you, I live in Israel, Palestine, okay?
Okay.
Most of the Jews around here, certainly people look like me, okay? Believe
Okay.
the Jews was given the land to Israel by what the Bible says, years, okay?
Yeah.
A lot of the Muslims there believe since Umar ibn Khattab came, basically it's a land, just like Spain and that. It's a land that should stay by things.
Okay.
This complicates things.
So what?
People are killed. Children are killed in Gaza. What do you mean? So what?
No.
God wants that to happen.
So
God wants.
So you okay? See, you've deflected the fact that children are killed in Gaza.
Yes.
But how is that connected to that we can believe in what we want to believe in, you can believe in whatever you believe, and it's different? How is that? How are the two things connected?
Because the totality of my belief that if, for instance, I believe the whole land is mine. There's no room for Jews there, and Jews believe the whole land there's no really room.
I don't think you're being fair here. With I don't think that's what's going on, by the way. I mean,
part of what's going
look.
on. And I'm not saying
no. I don't agree with this whole thing. This now you've shown your cards. So look, at the end of the day, yes, you have. This is not an equal situation. What's going on in Palestine? Okay, yeah, good. So this idea that this narrative that just because we believe in something different from, like I believe in something different from you. The question is not whether let's have uniformity of belief, or let's have plurality. I understand. It's funny because you kind of went against Nazism. We said we were against it, but your proposition is that we were
against the occupation.
No, but why is the only answer to how we should not be violent to each other as Muslims and Arabs or whatever it is and Jews? Why is the only answer that we have to start believing something different now religiously?
I'm not different. I don't want you not to be a Muslim.
No, I know, but you want me to believe in a specific. You want me to believe in a specific Islam, which places the eschaton as this place where everyone can enter it, and everyone can go to heaven.
I think.
Why is that the solution? Why is that the solution? Why is that the solution?
Because if I don't believe in total, where everyone who's not like me is not good in God's eyes, I can share. For instance, what about the concept which really needs to happen as either 2 states, where the Palestinians get their own state, or that they have fully participant citizens and they can vote, and then it will be a 1-state solution where it will be half. That's what the solution is.
Let me tell you something.
But when my ideology is no, the land should be only Jews. No, the land should only be for Palestinians. Then the total thing, and religion plays a part in it. Not all Palestinians are Muslim, but about 95% are Muslims.
Religion plays a part. Let me tell you that. Okay, let me come back in. I'm not sure if you knew this or not, but let's say from 1948, from the establishment of the State of Israel up until like 1980, yeah, the biggest discourse that was from the Arab side was actually, first of all, the biggest organization was the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, yeah, and they were a nationalistic organization. They were not a religious one. Now you might not know this, but Israel actually funded Hamas. Now hold on, let me explain. Israel funded Hamas in 1980s because they understood this idea of an enemy is my friend. They saw that the major threat was the PLO, and that Hamas was a splinter group that could be a disturber to the PLO. So even despite the fact that the religious discourse was not the prevailing discourse from the years 1948 to 1980, before the establishment of Hamas, Hamas wasn't even established. All right, so even before the establishment of Hamas, even though the main discourse was actually a nationalistic one, Yasser Arafat and all that kind of stuff, they weren't putting the Islamic discourse as the main thing. It was for them a Palestinian struggle. Yes, Islam was there as a supporting argument, but it wasn't the main one. And what I'm saying, in that time, even then you had issues. So the assumption, let me finish. This assumption that if you remove religious belief that there's only one people that can go to heaven or something like that, or perennialism or universalism, it will lead to a better outcome in terms of casualty, death, and less wars, is one that's actually unsubstantiated in the literature, and in fact to the contrary. Because if you look at, this is a very basic argument, but if it was a lack of religiosity or religious exceptionalism, which actually produces what you say it produces, which is a lack of wars, then why is it the case that we find the biggest casualties in human history occur at the hands of people who don't even believe in religion? For example, World War I and World War II. For example, the Holocaust itself. It wasn't necessarily because you are religious Jews. It was an ethnic issue. It was a racist issue. They were racist people. So the point is that it was a nationalistic struggle, okay? And what I'm saying to you is this assumption that the in-group, out-group preferential understanding, that this will be eliminated somehow if we remove religious eschatological exceptionalism or soteriological exceptionalism. I don't think that's something which is justified.
Not by itself, but it's two sides of the same coin. Obviously, nationalism, racism is much worse. Okay, so you're a step above that, right? You don't think white people are better than black people or brown people, any of that, I assume, which is great. Certainly, if they're all Muslims, they're your brothers, just the same, which is great. But if someone's not your brother, is not a Muslim,
then what? Then what?
Well, they're not as loved by God. I don't know. They're not.
So what?
First of all, you're entitled to it.
No. What? How does that translate? If I say to you, as a Muslim, أَفَنَجْعَلُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ كَالْمُجْرِمِينَ مَا لَكُمْ كَيْفَ تَحْكُمُونَ? The Quran says that very clearly. You're right. She will make the Muslims like the criminals. How is it that you judge? Muslims are, we believe, someone who believes in God. أَفَمَنْ يَعْلَمُ أَنَّمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ مِنْ رَبِّكَ الْحَقِّ كَمَنْ هُوَ أَعْمَى إِنَّمَا يَتَذَكَّرُ أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ. The Quran does say this. In Surah Al-Ra'd, that should we, أَفَمَنْ يَعْلَمُ, does the one who knows أَنَّمَا الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكَ, that the truth is revealed from Allah, كَمَنْ هُوَ أَعْمَى, is like the one who is blind. إِنَّمَا يَتَذَكَّرُ أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ, that the ones who have true knowledge will understand this point. In other words, we do not. From an intrinsic perspective, we say that someone who believes in God is in a soteriological and eschatological advantage. But it doesn't mean to say as a result of it now, we're going to start imposing measures or starting wars.
But some people do, right?
No, some people do that with people of their own faith. I want to ask the question. What evidence do you have that religious exceptionalism, well, let's be very clear, religious soteriological or eschatological exceptionalism, or metaphysical exceptionalism, what evidence do you have that such exceptionalism creates more by way of violence and war?
Okay, so if it was only
than any other system?
If it was only eschatological exceptionalism, I wouldn't have a problem. Because at the end of days, let them come. They're always there to come. They never actually come. They're always in the future, don't worry about them. Okay? But there are things happening in the world today.
What evidence do you have?
All the worry was that, when Jesus comes, everyone non-Christian going to kill, and Muhammad comes and things, with Jesus there, and the Masih and the Mahdi and everything, then it's fine. End of the let them come, and then we'll worry about it. But the things that are happening today, now I agree with you, national exceptionalism is much worse. Racism and nationalism is much worse, and that plays a big part. And I'm not for, I don't know if it's Hamas is more extreme, but I don't know if it's for what happened in Egypt, where the West is supporting Sisi, the dictator, just to the Muslim president. I don't agree with that. I think that's wrong.
Okay, can I make this? Go ahead.
Okay, but just saying that also religious exceptionalism, I think, look, again, if I'm going back to where I live, some of the fighters, what's the problem there? Okay, from the Jewish side, well, whoever's not Jewish shouldn't be ruling this land because this was given to us by God. And for the Muslim side, what do they get? Part of it, I'm not saying all, it's not equal. Okay, and I think there are a lot of Muslims, but there are some Muslims, and there are, okay, also Hamas and Islamic Jihad, there are some who believe Jews shouldn't be there. All this should be Islamic land. Shouldn't have any kind of food.
Can I retort now?
Yes.
I understand what you're saying. I'm saying, look, if you were to present this as some kind of a sociological investigation, which is basically the idea that, you have this idea of metaphysical exceptionalism, religious exceptionalism, which is that you believe that someone is intrinsically advantaged for believing in X things and that he will be in heaven and the other person will be in hell, all that kind of stuff. Call it what you like. Soteriological exceptionalism, metaphysical exceptionalism, eschatological exceptionalism, or all of the above. Now, what is a null hypothesis? In other words, if you want to make a comparison, there needs to be something to compare to. So in other words, if I'm saying to you now, if you remove religious exceptionalism, What do you put in its place? You put maybe universalism, which is maybe what or perennialism. The idea that there's all pathways to truth. Now my question is, how can you prove, if that is your null hypothesis point of comparison, that perennialist people, for example, in any anthropological or sociological setting, will have a lesser proclivity to starting wars and causing violence than people who are non-soccer. Let me give you an example. We're living in the UK. Let me just make it close to home. Yeah, we're living in the UK. There's 1 million Muslims in London. Okay, which is there's like what 10 million people and maybe 9 million people according to the census. Okay, so the majority of people, overwhelming majority, are not Muslims in London. Yeah, I think you'd agree with this. Maybe 15% are Muslim and the rest are non-Muslims. So the vast majority. The UK, 50,000 people, according to national statistics, 50,000 people get stabbed a year. Now that's almost 4,000 people a month or something like that, right? Now I would like to posit to you and submit to you that the reason why people are stabbing each other in this very country is not due to religious difference or because of some kind of eschatological exceptionalism. I'm going to say to you that people stab each other because of gang warfare and because of what is referred to in psychology as in-group, out-group dynamics. Human beings, in and of their nature, will cause violence, yes, will cause violence from whatever reason, because these are the others and therefore they need to be attacked. So what I'm saying is, whatever you try and replace religious metaphysical exceptionalism with, you'll still be left with the human psychological proclivity, yeah, to cause violence as a result of difference. So what I'm saying is that your efforts here are in vain and they're fruitless, because actually what we should be focusing on is not whether or not in-group, out-group dynamic type thinking is going to happen with human beings. In fact, the tribal nature of human being is something that is almost uneradicatable from the human psyche. I believe so, but based on the fact that there's strong psychological evidence that that's what we need as human beings in order to self-actualize or to be psychologically in a better state. That we can have identification markers that demarcate us from other human beings. What I'm saying, therefore, is that the answer is not to try and eradicate all those markers of difference. The answer is, how do we work mechanistically within our own areas of difference with other people, with different people? Me as a Muslim, you as a Jew. The answer is not like I have to believe that you're going to go to heaven, even if you don't believe in Prophet Mohammed. I don't have to believe in any of that. I can believe you're going to go to hellfire and stay there all your life. But still believe, it's not a contradictory belief for me to believe in that, and also to believe that I have to be good to you and kind to you. And that I give you exact rights that I would give any Muslim neighbor, any Muslim friend, or whatever it is. I can still operate in the same.
I'm going to hell. That's interesting.
Yes.
I'm trying to eradicate.
You can even Islamically, a Muslim man can marry a Jewish or a Christian wife. How can you answer me this one question? How can you have a Christian or Jewish wife?
She converts.
No. She stays Christian or she stays Jewish. She stays Christian. She is Christian.
Well, you can't have a Christian husband.
No, I know, because we don't believe in gender equality in the same way as feminist second wave would believe in it. And also because of assimilation. Yeah, there's other reasons. But the point is this. If I say this, if a Muslim man marries a Christian woman, Islam doesn't say he can't love her. Islam actually, in fact, Islam indicates that you can love them and there's no sin in that. How does Islam indicate that? When Abu Talib, who was the Prophet ﷺ's uncle, they loved each other. The Prophet ﷺ was very much grieved by his death. Allah revealed, إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَن يَشَاءُ. That you will not guide who you love, but Allah guides whomever He will. So Allah affirmed that He loves, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ loved this Abu Talib who ended up dying as a pagan. The point being is, and in fact there's narrations that he'll be in the hellfire. So you can love someone that you're going to think that's going to be in the hellfire. The Prophet ﷺ loved his uncle. A man can love his wife whether she's Jewish or Christian. And this is what the scholars refer to as al-hubb al-tabi'i, that natural love. Natural love is something like, imagine you have a mother that's a Christian or a Jew. Many reverts have this situation. It doesn't mean that you're going to hate them now. No. So I think we have to demarcate the eschatological dimension or the soteriological dimension with the worldly dimension. If we're able to do so, that's fine.
Okay, but 2 points there. First of all, I'm trying to eradicate in-group thinking, not difference. I want multiculturalism. I don't think we need to look or sound differently. But yes, the in-group thinking, which religion is only one of the proponents of, is what brings a lot of the strife. I don't have in-group thinking. I don't love people in my group more than others. I live in Israel. I don't like Israelis more like Palestinians.
I beg to differ. I think you're deceiving yourself with that. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Have you got children?
Yes, I do.
All right. Imagine now you walk in the street, yeah? I mean, you got a son, yeah?
Yeah.
How old is he? Older, like?
He's 18.
Okay, imagine now he's 12 or 10. You see two people drowning in the sea. Your son and another boy. That's exactly the same age. Okay? Are you with me now?
Yeah.
And you can only save one. Who are you going to save?
Well, the first question, what God wants me to do.
Now, what are you going to do? Just let's be honest.
No, I will try to do what God wants me to do.
What are you going to do? Your two people are drowning, your son and another 10-year-old who are the same age. Who are you going to go for?
But let me give you the reason. My son, because I brought him into this world.
Okay.
That's not in group thinking.
Okay.
That's for individuals I brought into this world. The responsibility I have for that from God, from nature, is something else completely.
Okay, let me retort. Okay. What you've done is you've given a reason, yes, which is why would you prefer your own, biological own, over somebody else, and then you've offered a justification. Hold on. You've offered a justification. Now the fact, no problem, but the fact that you've offered a justification doesn't nullify the fact that you have the preference. The justification does not stop the fact. Now what I'm saying is, therefore, every human being in their nature is going to think like this. Most human beings, I'm not saying every single, most human beings will do what you've done. If you saw your son who's 10-year-old and another 10-year-old drowning, you'll go for your son, even though, if you can only save one. I don't think that's wrong. You feel like there's an added responsibility that you have over your own son because he's in your family than the other one, because of whatever reason you brought him into the world, because your semen was the reason why he became into the world, which others would say is inconsequential. But what I'll say is this. Yeah, no problem. Okay. Yeah, no problem. But what I'm saying is, now, at what point does that reasoning start to become illegitimate? As Muslims, we say that in group thinking.
After I stop children.
Why? How?
Because.
Why? If your mum was drowning
and
a woman, if your mum was drowning,
yes,
and another woman let's say your mum is, let's just say 70 years old, another 70-year-old woman was drowning, you had to save one. Who would you save?
I don't know. Again, I have to think what God wants.
What would you do?
Can I answer for a second?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Obviously, I'm Ashkenazi Jew. A lot of my children, my dad's side, perished in the Holocaust. My mom's side watching the struggle. Well, we have righteous among the nation. We have this big museum called Yad Vashem and thing. Mostly Polish Catholics, all kinds of non-Jews who were in terrible occupation themselves by the Germans, who went out of their way, sometimes risked their lives, to save Jews. If they had it in group thinking, no Jews would be saved by them. So when I think about it, primitive people are, why do you fight so much for Palestinians? Why don't you worry about your own? How come you give me charity Palestinian kids? What about your own? I say, if I think that in group thinking, that doesn't bring love in the world. If I'm just taking money first, all the charity, all the zakah, all the thing, I'm doing just for my people. Yes, there's a big price to pay. It doesn't what would I expect someone else also to do only for them? What would you be admiring more? Christian, helping as a Christian, or going out of his way to help a Muslim?
Okay, listen.
Wouldn't you appreciate it? Say, wow, that's an amazing guy.
I understand, but you've kind of veered away from the topic at hand.
Did I?
Yeah, because what I'm saying is I'm trying to show you that which you are trying to argue against is that which you have a proclivity to still. What I'm saying to you, even
I have an ego. I'm trying to take
hold on.
Where's it coming from?
No, but it's a moralization. You made a justification.
When it came,
yes, child, yes, and your mother.
My other, I was deliberating. But again, if I make a
okay, so you're thinking about. Let me ask you a question.
But I just want to say, if I do something out of ego, that doesn't mean
give me a second. Give me a second. Say you've got a neighbor, call him Bob, and you got another individual. Yes. Your Bob is 30 years old.
30?
Yeah. Forget about race or religion. Bob is drowning, another person is drowning there. You can only save one. Who are you going to save?
I don't know. Bob's my uncle? No, I'm kidding. One I know and one I don't know?
One is your neighbor.
My neighbor?
Yeah.
I think I'll try to take the other considerations. Who's more at risk? Who's not?
No, but same. Everything is the same.
I don't know if I need. Look, I also don't know.
He's calling your name as well.
What? I'm sure. I did try to interfere there, by the way.
Listen,
I don't know them. Look, but you're asking me what I'm doing. I'm asking like this. I ask what. I stopped thinking. What does God want me to do? That's why I keep thinking.
Well, what does God say in the Old Testament about the neighbor?
Love thy neighbor.
Okay, great. So
But the way I understand that is love everyone. You, my neighbor as well.
no, I understand. But let's say your actual neighbor, your next door neighbor.
I don't know if it's literally.
Okay, great.
In the Hebrew, there's not neighbor. Right?
Okay, fine.
Hebrew is racha, which is friend. Who knows?
Okay,
Maybe in group.
Do you understand what I'm saying? What I'm trying to do with you here? I'm trying to say this fake.
No, but what fake? You're saying you have an ego and sometimes you prefer your own. Maybe, but I'm not trying to make God.
No.
God has 8 billion people.
Jesse,
He
bro.
doesn't prefer.
Jesse, when you
God doesn't prefer
when you are moralizing,
Yes.
you are saying I brought my son into the world. That's why I would save him over the other
Right.
one. Okay, you offered a justification for a type of in-group
I
thinking.
gave a reason. No, I gave a reason why God wants me to do it. God doesn't prefer my son to someone else. He doesn't prefer Bob to someone else. That's for sure. Okay?
Okay.
God doesn't like me more than he like you.
No, but then, but no, but we're not talking about that.
No, so
We're talking
no.
about practical implications. That's
No,
what you
so if
were
you're
talking
asking me,
about.
what would you do during my time and space? Would you have God, or would you just do what you want to think? Maybe. I'm not perfect. I'm not saying I never, but I can say that I certainly try to be outside in group thinking. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think that's what makes me a good person. If I take care of my own, I think it's a business when I take care of someone else. Now, not only, and it doesn't mean I can neglect. Charity does begin at home. I can't neglect my own children, which I brought up. Okay.
You can't, can you?
No, that I can't.
Okay,
But,
can I ask
but
you
if I wait,
Do you know, if you take this idea to its logical extreme, there's a guy called Peter Singer, yeah? Have you heard of him? He's a utilitarian. He's making utilitarian arguments. And one of the things he said was that if you eat food, like an extravagant meal, you're killing kids in Africa or something like that, right? But if you think about it, that money could have been given, you see.
That's a butterfly effect.
No, hold on. Okay. If you think clearly about what he's saying, yeah? He's saying if you look at causes and effects, and if you look at the fact that you have this money, which could otherwise, there's an opportunity cost with the money, right? You have, let's say, £100. Do you go to a restaurant sometimes with your wife?
I'm in a divorce. Yeah, I do.
Or the ex-wife? Did you used to go? Maybe that's why the divorce happened. Sorry to say, no, but let's say you go to a kosher restaurant with your wife, yeah? Or your ex-wife or whatever, or your new wife.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah? And you sit there and you eat some meats or whatever, yeah? All right. Now, do you feel like you're killing people?
Well, an animal was killed.
No, not human beings, humans. Yeah.
No, I don't.
Okay, because if you take it to its logical extreme, you are pleasing your ex-wife or whoever it is at the expense of money that could otherwise have been used for charity for Africa. And I'm not saying you're wrong for going to the restaurant, by the way. I'm just saying this idea of in-group, out-group, if you take it to its extreme, everything that you do will have an opportunity cost. And if we consider, that's why in Islam, let me tell you, in Islam we have very clear guidelines of who we give money to, who we befriend, how we befriend them, all these kind of things. In terms of charity, for example, so start with those who are closest to you. Actually, if you have people in your family who need...
If you start with someone close to you, you'll never get to me. I'm too far. Is that right? We have the same thing, by the way, in the Talmud. Okay? The city...
No, but have you ever...
There's always people around
Jesse, have you ever thought guilty or as if you were doing something immoral by eating food and paying money in a restaurant that could have otherwise been given to kids in Africa?
No, because...
Great. Why not?
Well, yeah, first of all, religion do put things. And other religions say you can give it a tenth or a fifth. You don't give all your money away. Because you're scoffing.
No, I'm not. I mean, on your view, which is not religious anyway.
Okay,
So go ahead.
Look, first of all, because I'm only one messenger of God, one of 8 billion. I can't save the whole world, okay? I come here, fly in, think I'm going to save the world. I can't. I got no few things. Maybe change one mind. Usually not, okay? So, I'm going to give it to my own children. The point is that, I'm not going to save the whole world, okay? And yeah, you know, when you're young American, I say the children in India finish your food because children in India are starving. Okay, but if you finish your food, they won't be starving. So I can try and hope. I'm not going to save the whole world. It doesn't mean I don't do anything. I don't know what the problem is. Why do I have to?
Do you disagree that? By the way,
you're saying because I can't save the whole world, so I shouldn't try to do anything.
All I'm saying is this: your idealistic idea of in-group, out-group preference, which you're trying to eradicate, in reality you don't live by that. Because if you did live by that, you saved the other Kai, you would have tossed a coin before you went and saved.
If I don't live by that, maybe maybe I'm not doing what they're
called. No, bro. Okay. No, listen. You said if there were 2 boys that were drowning in the sea, you drown and you had only there was ceteris paribus, everything was the same, except for the fact that you could only save one of them. You'd save your son over the other one because you brought him into the world. I'm saying that that's an in-group type of mentality. You put your family before the collective will of all humanity.
But God
Now, let
gave
me
me
finish.
this
Let me finish. Now, number one. Number two, you've given it justification. Now I'm saying that
Don't say too
Give
much.
it a
We're going.
reason.
Are you coming?
yeah, all right, we're done now.
gotta go.
All right, brother. Thank you.
okay.
By the way, just one question.
Yes.
Do you disagree with the fact that Jews are the chosen people?
Shalom.
Pardon?
Do you disagree with that?
Yes, there's no chosen people.
All right, so you reject your Old Testament.
Pardon?
You reject it.
There was a Holocaust of people being the chosen people, and then they tried to eradicate mine. No, there's no people that been no.
So you reject. You're
I
an
reject that aspect.
You're an apostate.
I keep it. I don't know
Judaism.
apostate. I keep my religion pretty strict.
All right.
I don't
thanks.
accept
Not the look of
things
it. Take care, my friend. Yeah. See you later.
Can I have a photograph of both of you, please? Thank you, gentlemen. Love. Let's say big up street, mate.
Don't make a thumbnail saying troublemakers.
Jazak Khair.
See you, inshallah.
Thanks, man.
Big man, Tim. Take this. Brothers, can someone do the honors and give this to the whoever it belongs to?
Thanks for brother.
I'll hold them. Yeah.
Really looking like a basketball. Shoes, the